Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for joining us. Dave and I are going to go through a presentation quickly on Teams, and at the end of that, he's going to talk a little bit about Skype and Zoom. So it's 1:30 now. I'm going to give everyone a few more minutes to join up. So thanks. Oh, look, there's Dave in the corner. Hi, Dave. All right. It is 1:33. We'll go ahead and get started. So we are getting ready to do a launch of Microsoft Teams. I don't know, some of you guys may be aware of what Teams is. It's a part of the Office 365 suite that we have. So all the things we've been working on recently as far as Office 365 groups, the naming policy, self-service, and things like that, were all really leading up to this point to where we could turn on Teams for you guys. And so we'll go ahead and get started. So Teams, if you're not familiar with it, Teams is Microsoft's latest chat-based workspace. It's very similar to Skype as far as the chat features go, but the big difference is that chat is persistent, and the different the options that you have with the client. The client is very robust. The web client, the desktop app, and the mobile app, they're all very robust, and you can do a lot of things with them, such as sharing files, editing documents, things like that. So there's different types of Teams. After a user's licensed for Teams, when you go into Office 365 or your mailbox on the web, in the Office waffle in the top corner, if you click on that, you'll see Microsoft Teams or Teams. I can't remember if it says Microsoft in front of it or not, but you have that option, and you click on it, you see the web client. From there, you can either download the desktop app, which I recommend, and work from there, or you can continue working through the web app. You have options to create a new team. So built in, there's 4 different team types. I assume that the majority of you guys will use the staff members team. It's fairly straightforward. Faculty and staff members, that's what it's designed for, to work on departmental things or projects or smaller tasks that you're working on. You get a OneNote notebook, a mailbox. The chat is the big thing. You get a SharePoint site, and you also get Planner. So it's pretty cool, the things that you can do there. PLC is geared towards educators, professional learning, and things like that. And then classes, I expect classes to be a team type that's used as well, because we are going to allow students to use Teams. The big difference there is you get a class notebook that has more templates that are geared towards school and structured that way. So, but you do get all the other features, and you can work on in those other apps as well. And then Anyone is just like it sounds. Still students or faculty and staff can work in that together. So again, that'll be when you create a team, you'll have to choose one of those. I would recommend, if you're doing one for your department, just do staff members. That's what we use internally in our group. So the benefits of Teams, as I mentioned earlier, is chat. Persistent chat's the big thing. So today, if you use Skype, when you close Skype, you lose your chat history, and you have to go look in your conversation history in your Outlook client. Chat in Teams is persistent, so anytime you open that client, even if it's on a new computer or from anywhere, you'll see all the chat history from all the teams that you're a member of, the channels that you have access to, and the individual chats that you've been a part of. So that is very helpful. I used it this morning when I was looking back for some PowerShell information that I discussed with someone months ago. So, and you can collaborate. So, like I said, it allows you to upload files to a channel or a team. You get a shared workspace there. You can upload files. If you're editing with Word or Excel, things like that, those Office applications, it's built into the app, so you can edit documents from the app. And again, you work anywhere, as I mentioned earlier as well. There's a really robust user experience, whether you're using the web, desktop, or mobile apps. We've been using Teams internally for a couple of months now, and the mobile app, I don't know if you guys have ever used the Skype mobile app, but it was pretty tragic. But the Teams app is very useful. It seems to work very well. The quality is good on calls when you have meetings. It's very reliable on its notifications. So in addition to that, Teams are built on top of Office 365 groups. So really you get all of the same function of a group, just you add chat. Now there are some things that you do lose today when you create a group. If there's a calendar that's created with it, you wouldn't have access to the calendar if you were using it. You could create a SharePoint calendar in your SharePoint site and link back to it through the Teams app. But Planner, if you're using Planner with a group, you can link that. It's very useful there. You can also link back to the SharePoint site if you're working on one for your group that you've created. So again, chat, like I said, chat's persistent. The history's always there. So, and one cool thing is when you add a new team member, they can see all of that chat history as well. So as you onboard employees or people in your groups, if there's a topic that you discussed previously, they can find it there. Your chat history is stored in SharePoint Online and protected by SharePoint encryption, so you don't have to worry about it being in your Outlook or it being on a server somewhere that we might have access to. It's in your personal your OneDrive essentially, and it's all encrypted. If it's a team and if it's a team chat and not an individual chat, it'll be stored in the SharePoint space or the SharePoint site of the team. So each team can have multiple channels. I think you can go up to 200 channels in a team. So that's pretty neat. So you have your general team, and say half of your team is working on a project. They could create a channel inside of that existing team to talk about, that particular project and share files related to that project. At mentions is essentially like tagging. So if you want to make sure that you're talking to your coworker and they see it in a timely manner, you can mention them, and it sends a notification to them. On the collaboration, share, upload files. We did that yesterday working on a project. It's really easy just to upload, drop something in the file space there, pull it down, or work on it in that particular file site. So that's been really helpful. Again, natively you can do Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Office apps. One thing too, so I know a lot of people have started using Box, or they maybe adopted Box before there was a clear strategy on OneDrive versus Box. You can add that if you have the client, the desktop app. You can add your Box account there, and then that allows you to look at all of the files that you've stored in Box. Again, Planner. I don't know if you guys have used Planner. That's Microsoft's Kanban board. You can create a planner board. If you've already created one, you can link back to that one. And then again, a OneNote notebook. You can do meetings in Teams. You can do audio and video meetings. The catch there is it's only available when you're using a Teams client, whether it's the web app, the desktop app, or the mobile app. They're not doing any of the telephony pieces. So if you're going to, if you require an external person to call in, that's not going to work with Teams. You'll have to host a meeting in Zoom. So one thing that we found out recently, which I thought was kind of neat, you can call an impromptu meeting. So say you're working on something and you don't really need to have a full-blown meeting, but you want to get the group together really quickly to talk. There's a button that says Meet Now, and it notifies all the members of the team that someone has started a meeting and wants them to join. It doesn't put anything on your calendar. I thought that was pretty neat, pretty useful. Also, you can type meeting notes while you're having the meeting, and those are persistent as well. So our group, we have a standing meeting, and if we type any notes, we meet at a pretty high frequency with that standing meeting, and the meeting notes we've typed from previous meetings are there and available if we need them. And working anywhere, as I said, there's a desktop app that's available for Windows 7 and up, OS X 10.10 and up. The mobile apps are available for Android and iOS and Windows 10 mobile. I was looking at a report earlier on the users that we have so far, and they're gradually ramping up. The funny thing is, though, I didn't see any Windows 10 mobile apps there, so I guess that didn't catch on. And browsers is IE 11, Edge, Chrome, and Firefox, and you can see in parentheses there it's always going to be the latest plus 2 previous versions that Microsoft supports. A few other things to note. When you create a team, it's going to create it as a private team. We recommend that you do that. If you switch it to a public group, that means anybody that's an authenticated user with a Teams license in our organization would be able to see the team and the team content. So we do recommend that you keep it private. Team owners are the only people that can add new members. Team members can leave a team at any time, so that's similar to groups today. Guest access and external access for teams is not enabled. So you can't add somebody that may be working with you at a different university or that's not a part of the campus Office 365 tenant as a team member. That's only going to work for guys that are licensed here and part of this org. So, and then again, only team members can be added to team channels. If you decide, okay, I've got this topic that I need to add more people to, you'll have to create a new team. You can't add somebody that's not a team member to a team channel. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Dave to talk about Zoom.
Thanks, Stephen. Zoom is the online collaboration tool that now UAB IT supports. It is very similar to the type of client that you see here during these kinds of meetings that we have. Usually we host them through town halls and things like that. But any online meetings that you have currently that you require any kind of external access or telephony, you're going to have to use Zoom instead of Teams. Teams is not going to be telephony enabled, so if you need like a telephone number or anything like that for user access, you're going to have to use Zoom. It's owned by the UA system, so it's free for all UAB employees. You will have to register for it, and I'll have that URL up for you in just a few minutes. It supports external users, so you can create a Zoom meeting in Outlook and email it out to a group of individuals, both on and off campus, and they'll all have access to it, either through dial-in or through a computer, headset, and video camera, etc. It has full audio, visual, and desktop presentation abilities, just like Skype for Business does. The things that are available, you can do chat, you can do video conferencing, you can do desktop presentation. All of those things are also available in Zoom. And there is a desktop client available as well. Zoom is the one audio-visual conferencing solution that is supported by UAB IT. Other third-party solutions are not supported. So things like Slack, things like WebEx, those I know are out there and being used by the user community, but they're not supported like Zoom is. So as I mentioned, the way to access Zoom is through either a web client, very similar to Skype. There's a desktop application that will just sit on your desktop, and you could do chat through it, you could do instant meetings through it, you can schedule it through Outlook. There's Outlook integration, and there's actually an Outlook plugin so that you could schedule Zoom meetings just through Outlook without having to have the client. Now, to register for it, you do have to go through a specific process to get a Zoom license, and you can find that at our website, the UAB IT website. You can also Google UAB Zoom and get taken to the same place. And then there's a link on there that'll have the registration process. You'll fill out a little form just entering your Blazer ID, and you'll get an email saying that you've been confirmed for Zoom. So you may be thinking, why are we having Skype meetings, and why are we focusing so much on Teams and Zoom when we love to use Skype for Business so much? Well, Skype for Business is going away. So right now it's being scheduled to be retired at the end of 2018. December 31st is our current date for it to go away. We're going to start announcing to the campus officially in Tim Group targeted communications next week. And then after that, we'll begin targeting direct users of Skype each month until the date of the retirement. One thing to note, if you do have a recurring Skype meeting, like a weekly team meeting or a staff meeting that is scheduled in Skype for Business, you're going to have to delete that meeting and recreate it in something like Teams or in Zoom. You can absolutely use Teams if you know everybody has a computer and headset and needs to connect online that way. But like I said, any kind of external access, you're going to need to use Zoom for it instead. So with that, do you guys have any questions, comments, or any concerns, anything? And if you do, please type them in the chat box. I know it's a sad day that Skype is going away. And I know there'll be much mourning out in the campus community for it.
And one other thing too, I don't know if I mentioned or if you guys noticed the status cast that went out last week. We turned on Teams for everyone last week. So if you guys want to go in and start kicking the tires. That's available to you now. You can log in, create a team, add members. Carrie and Jessica and the communications team are working on a website right now. We've developed a lot of knowledge-based articles and a couple of facts. So all of that will be posted where you guys can get to that. But it's out there, so if you guys want to spin it up, feel free to do it. So, Hillary, to answer your question, the big difference between teams and groups is chat and channels. I don't know why Microsoft didn't just add chat to groups and then pat themselves on the back, but instead we've got two separate solutions. It's really up to you guys. I think that the majority of people are going to move to teams. And not really use groups. Groups would be probably better if you just kind of want to get email to a mailbox. That still works with Teams. You can subscribe to the mailbox in Outlook if you want to get those notifications with Teams, just like groups. So that should answer your questions there. Let's see, Dave has answered Jason Womack's question on replacing Skype. Yep, we're going to do Teams. If it's just your local group here on campus, use Teams. But if you need somebody to call in, as Dave mentioned, you need to do a Zoom meeting. If somebody invites you to a Skype meeting, you'll get a link and it'll open up in a browser just like it does today. It wouldn't necessarily use your Skype client on your desktop. If you sent it to someone that didn't have Skype installed, they would get a link and be able to join. Yes, yeah, you can do, Jason. Can you IM someone who's not on your team? Yes, absolutely. You can do individual chat. So once you're in Teams, you can look up people, and if they have teams, well, we're all licensed now, so you can talk to them. You'll see presence just like you do in Skype. A green circle means that they're online. Red is in a meeting. If there's kind of grayed out, they're not. They don't have their Skype, their Teams client open. So yeah, you can IM anyone. No, we don't recommend sending Social Security numbers at all in any case with anything we provide here on the campus side of things. No. So Teams is only turned on for the campus users. As far as I know, the hospital still just uses Skype. I don't know what their plans are there going forward, but there's not any interoperability between us and them right now, as far as Teams go. That is a good question. Hillary, I don't honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know if there's an archive or freeze option. I mean, I guess you could just stop using it, and it's not going to go away until you go in and delete it. But that's something we could definitely look into and get back to you on. Right, yeah, there is a limit, like I said, to channels. and I believe it was 200. That's in our FAQ. I could go back and get that and send that out to you if that's different, but I could see where that would be an issue quickly. But I guess, the upside to that, or the other option there would be, you could always create another team or a separate team for something. So Teams is another component, David. It's built on groups. So when you create a team, it essentially creates an Office 365 group, and then it stacks these other technologies in on top of that group. No, I mean, obviously you don't want to create a team for lots of little ancillary things. There is a tenant limit. I think we're limited to 500,000 teams for our entire organization. So, to answer your question, Hillary. Okay, that's a good question, David, and I didn't mention that when I was going through the slides. So when you create a team, it doesn't become part of an existing group by default. Well, it does set up a new group, but if you're already using a group, say that it has all of your people in it, you have the option when you create a group, or I'm sorry, when you create a team, to use an existing group, and that would allow you to just basically essentially upgrade that Office 365 group to a team. The group expiration policy, William, applies to all the groups, but you'll get the same kind of notifications. So any kind of group that was created, whether it's any kind of group that's in Azure, it's Planner, Office or Office 365 groups, and even Teams, you'll get that same expiration notice. Yes, David, there was a slideshow. Did you not see it? I guess not. Yeah, we'll post that up, that slide deck. So we're gonna, like I said, Carrie's gonna post a website or a web page with facts and knowledge base articles linked on it, and we'll get this recording posted somewhere and the PowerPoint slides. That is by design. They didn't want Teams to show up in Outlook automatically the same way that groups do. So that is a Microsoft thing that they did on purpose. I don't think there's a way to merge two teams together, David, to answer your question. That's not something that we've covered yet or have encountered. So that is a good question. I don't think that, I mean, you could nest groups, but it wouldn't necessarily merge all of the data from the apps that are tied to it. To answer that question, Jason, teams don't show up in Outlook by design. That's a decision that Microsoft made months ago. Office 365 groups show up, but teams do not. No. There's not a limit on the number of teams you can join. So the team calendar and Outlook, with a team, you don't have that calendar anymore. You would have to go in and basically make a calendar on the SharePoint site that's created for your team. That's one of the things that is lost between a group and a team. You don't have that calendar. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you have an option in the Teams client. There's lots of tabs that you can add. SharePoint's one of them, and you could do it there. And it would show up in your Teams app. And one other thing I don't think we mentioned in the presentation is there are a lot of tabs that you can add in Teams. Microsoft's made a lot of stuff available. We're not going to support all of them. I mean, there's going to be some things like, connecting Box and OneDrive and things that we already support that will obviously help with. But, if you start adding crazy things like, here's one, the law toolbox, that's probably not going to be something that we can offer you much help with there. For what we've seen with Teams, the best, the web app and the desktop app and the mobile app are almost identical. So I have no complaints about any of them. I use the mobile app a good bit, as well as the desktop app. Groups is, you're mostly going to use Outlook for accessing group things and group related things. Yeah, if you're using the latest version of Outlook, you should have a pretty similar experience when you're dealing with groups. The Teams app, though, is the same. It's virtually the same on Windows and Mac. I feel like I should say something while to fill the dead space while someone's typing. Yeah, well, if you create a team from an existing group, yes, you can connect your app to those files um, that are out there for the group. Yeah, yeah. So it's essentially with a group, it's a SharePoint site. Um, that's where your data is being stored. So you can add a tab and hook back into that. No problem. Thanks for all the questions, guys. This has been the best one so far as far as participation goes. It makes it a lot easier. Yeah, we'll get it, and be looking for just other general announcements as well. Like I said, once that web page is ready, we'll start sending things out in the e-reporter and Greenmail and other things, probably social media as well. So if you guys don't already, and you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can like or follow UAB and get things there as well. Yeah, that's the page that they're developing right now. So, all right. Any other questions? Oh, wait. Oh, and so you can chat in Teams. You can do GIFs and emojis. I know you guys will be happy about that in your chat there. So that's been a lot of fun as well. All right. Have a good afternoon, guys. Thank you for your time.